Hey Josh, I can't hear you at all. No, I can hear like water running, sort of.
Hello.
Yes, I can
Yeah,
definitely hear you now.
we did it.
Perfect. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, man. I don't know if you remember this. We spoke in 2016 for
Whoa.
your for that album that came out then.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me back.
Well, of course, I saw you making the rounds at Doughboys at Never Not Funny, and and I've been hearing you on Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Oh,
So
thank you.
I was getting so pissed. It's not a compliment, Josh. I was getting so pissed. You should have stopped by me first. It's ridiculous.
My
How I know.
mistake.
Look, I may not be as famous as Mike Mitchell. I might not be as charming as Jimmy Pardo, but damn it,
Who
I'm pretty.
is?
Exactly. I'm pretty good.
Let's do it. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, man, of course. And congratulations on this new special. I watched approximately half of it, and
Right
it
on.
is it's great. It looks really good. You're
Thank you.
really funny, and I just appreciate, just good jokes and good joke telling.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, the look of it is such a testament to Chris Werner, who directed, and Russ Swanson, our DP, and Mark Newell, who was the production designer. It's just like a really, really great team, and like the whole crew, camera ops, and everyone was just so great to work with. And it was really like, I don't know, kind of a thrill to get to bring Chris on, who's an old friend. We worked together at Last Week Tonight, and then have him put together this just like super team of amazing New York City production people. Robbie Fernandez from Moxie Pictures, and like Dom and Jess and Craig and Steven on the label side. Like I'm just naming, it's just like liner notes, but I'm truly so grateful that like so many people took time out of their busy schedules to work on this project with me.
And that's good too, because when we more often than not in the last couple of years, we've seen everybody go to Netflix and go to Hulu,
Yeah.
and it just seems kind of unfair that they get those. Not they as in the comedians, but they as in the streamers have these big venues for comedians, and then it's just kind of a passing thought. But
Mhm.
now, if you are a comedian, you can kind of, quote unquote, self-publish your project to YouTube, or you can self-release it to Patreon or whatever,
Yeah.
and it feels like it's a more lasting, more permanent thing.
Yeah, I think it's nice to not feel, obviously there's benefits to working with these giant platforms, but I do think one of the benefits of having gone straight to YouTube is that like we get to control what happens with it. They like there's nobody that like makes it disappear after a couple of years if it's not
Yeah.
performing well, or or if they just are like, oh, we're going in a different direction. So we can do whatever we want with it. And I feel like even more than, because everything's so digital now, that I sound like the oldest man in the world, but like everything is like digital files that you can have on your computer when you're making something and working on an edit. And at least now people are able to like get their own old stuff and mostly have like chopped it up and used it on social, or maybe have even released it themselves. But I feel like there's so much old stuff because we all think about like Netflix and HBO Max and Hulu being these big and Amazon now being big platforms for stand up. And it used to be just there were so few specials in total because like
Yeah.
the control over production and distribution just like wasn't in the hands of the comics.
Yeah, it's kind of good and bad in the position that we are in right now.
Yeah.
Also we're both born in the late 1900s, and but like it's when I think back to the early 2000s when I started watching comedy and I saw
Yeah.
Bigger and Blacker for the first time when we had
Hell yeah.
a free HBO stream weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then like comparing to now where I could turn on any comic who's been around for 2 years and who
Yeah.
hasn't really gone through the ranks of comedy. It's kind of fascinating to see who is truly ready and who is not, and it's kind of like I. when I go to the gym, sometimes if I'm doing something new, I'll have to watch a video and
Hmm.
I'll see like what like how do I do, a hang clean snatch. And so I have to watch a video for that multiple times before I get it under control.
Sure.
Whereas I wouldn't be recording that the first time myself, like literally on the first rep, and then putting it out on the internet. So why would somebody who's doing comedy for the first time want to record their first 5 or 30 minute set that they have done and then they
Yeah.
put it out and they get shit on because it's not ready.
It's really a tricky place to be, I think, like for people who are new, because there's so much incentive to share work and to be distributing new work all the time. And I think before people really have their feet under them creatively and stylistically, and even like in terms of being a person who knows what they want to say on stage, never mind how to say it, right? Like what are the kinds of things that I feel good saying and putting out into the world. There's just so much pressure to like get it out there, even if it is like almost nothing. And so I think like I it is a really interesting place, because on one hand, when I started stand up in 2004, there was so much prevailing wisdom of like, you don't, even when like YouTube started in 2006, there was no thought that you would just like record an hour and put it on YouTube, right? It was
Yeah.
like, oh, don't do anything until you're ready, keep your powder dry, hold your cards close to the vest, and then take the big swing at like, if you have 5 minutes that you love, try to get that to the booker for the Tonight Show or for Conan. And now it's like, oh, actually, if I put out this minute and a half long clip tonight that was about something that happened yesterday morning, maybe I've gone viral and like gotten hundreds of new followers by tomorrow morning. And so it's like the incentive structure has totally changed. And like, on, I think the good part is more comics with more diverse voices than ever have a at least like a puncher's chance at having their work find its way into the eyes and ears of audiences that are really receptive and enthusiastic. But on the other hand, there's like almost no way to discourage, and almost no reason to discourage brand new comics who have been doing it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, from like recording all their sets and just putting everything they do up, because it's like, I don't know, the public decides who is a famous comedian now, and sometimes the
Mhm.
public has amazing taste and sometimes they have horrendous taste. And it's like, and it's not just the public too, right? It's the, I'm sorry I'm talking so much, but it's like the
No.
fake democracy of algorithms, where
Mhm.
like if you say something really controversial in a joke, that gets pushed to the top of everybody's feed. And now like whether or not you that joke is funny or has good structure or is unique, because people are fighting in the comments, then now that is like in the ether and in the zeitgeist. And I think like a that's like a pretty new phenomenon. And I don't think it's like always good.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, to piggyback off the algorithm thing,
Yeah.
I'm finishing today is literally the last day. I'm working with a contract at a website. It's a very bad entertainment news website, and they are like strictly SEO. They don't have
Yep.
social media. They were like, no, we hired you for SEO.
Oh
I
wow.
come from the news and television world. I've worked
Mhm.
at NBC, I've worked at Weather Channel, and just like a lot of places. And those they're established entities, but then coming to this place and just like quite frankly, just being like, yeah, I'll take the contract because it's money coming in.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see how they just want you to write a story about an HGTV host posting about their baby on Instagram to
Yep.
make 400 words out of that versus I wrote about Big Brother over the course of July before the new season started 10 times and they were all over 1,000 words and it was just like a very fun articles that did not do well and then these
Sure.
HGTV things get thousands and thousands of clicks and I like literally some of those Big Brother things got like 100, 200, 300 clicks.
Wow.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, is this not what people want? I'm writing about your favorite show here.
Yeah.
Like I'm giving all the SEO and the tags. It's these algorithms are just insane. And I would love for you know, comedians like yourself, people who I know who are on Blonde Medicine's YouTube channel or on
Yeah.
their own YouTube channel to be successful because it's kind of at some point to for the viewer, it's kind of unfair to be fed the same people who are making $100 million
Yeah.
as opposed to the comedian who's a working comedian who still has to tour in not stadiums but in like comedy clubs
Yeah,
across the
totally.
country. You know, you have to go to Chuckle Huts in Idaho, and I think things should just kind of maybe I'm like turning into Bernie Sanders. I think things should just kind of level out. We need to get everybody right. Like everybody needs to get paid at this point.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like I don't blame it's like, it's just bitterness to be like, it's the famous comedian's fault, which I don't think it is. I think it is like the way that social media and algorithms have changed the incentives for and changed like what is asked for of writers, performers, people who make art and make entertainment. It's just like really change it. And I think again, I don't want to sound like the old man yelling at cloud computing or
Mhm.
whatever, but I do think that there are drawbacks. And I do think that it is like not super healthy for an emerging artist to come of age artistically in an environment where like the wisdom is just like, yeah, post everything you've ever done. And if it generates controversy and friction, that's what's good, rather
Yeah.
than like learn a craft and maybe like what you have isn't ready to be shared widely yet. And I don't mean it in a gatekeeper way, but I just think it like can stunt your artistic growth when what you're doing is courting likes and views rather than like the response of a live audience when you're a live performer, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like, I do think getting laughs in a room is like kind of its own discrete skill that
Mhm.
stand up comics have to get good at. Even if they have a following, they still have to get good at that part. And so I think like that to me was always the the part of it, the part of it that resonates with me still wasn't the like, wait your turn, it's not your turn yet, but rather the like, hey, don't go out over your skis and like work really hard. And when you have something you're really proud of to share, then maybe it's time to start like emerging out into the wider world versus like the idea of I just like it makes my stomach turn when people just call everything content and it's like
Yeah.
call it what it is. It's comedy, it's sketch comedy, it's like um entertainment, it's talking head,
Mhm.
pieces, but like just flattening everything to content, it just makes it sound like, I don't know, there's a bag this big and you have to fill it up with something, and so it doesn't matter what it is. And I just like that just makes me squirm.
Yeah, it's like going to one of those big candy stores and then
Mm-hmm.
just you're just filling it up. There's some Skittles, there's some gummy
Yeah,
sharks, there's all that stuff. And yeah, the content can't be a catch-all word for everything. You can't say like even though I just did kind of take down the streamers, you can't just go to Netflix and say this is content. Like no,
right.
this is Happy Gilmore too. You know,
Yeah, it's a
it's
movie.
yes, people worked hours and like years on this. You can't
Yes,
just. I'd rather you call it shit than just like
absolutely. And I don't
and
think everything is good.
yeah,
Like I don't
yeah.
think everything everyone makes is good, certainly. But I do think like giving it the dignity of being like, oh, I hated this movie. Like this
Hmm.
movie didn't move me, rather than just like, I don't know, I sat in front of my TV and I watched content for 3 hours. And it's like, oh, like, I don't know. And maybe that is an old man opinion, but I do think I'm like, it still feels like a worthwhile windmill to tilt at as long as there's still like an entertainment industry and people making, art that they're really proud of. It's not like, you know, it's not just sandbags.
Hmm.
Like it's not just filling a bag with something heavy that you can weigh something else down with. Like this is like people really think about this and make it. And obviously there's always been work that is more populist, work that is more niche, work that takes more effort, work that is like a little more quick and dirty. And I think that like that's certainly those gradations. I'm like happy that they all exist,
Yeah.
but to just flatten everything into like like Citizen Kane and a TikTok of like someone like spending hours editing like outfit of the day for an entire
Hmm.
year, and a 3 second video of like someone like looking at their shoe after they just stepped in dog shit is
Yeah.
like not the same. And it's like wacky to me to use the same word for all that.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw it together yesterday, and I didn't walk out of there going, "That was a good piece of content I saw."
Right.
It's insane.
Right. And it's not just video, right? It's like it's writing. I think like you were talking about the difference between doing SEO posts that are just there to like draw in traffic and then really going deep on something. And it's like, I don't know, I still love to read things like that. I subscribe
Yeah,
to so many newsletters because I love writing and I love reading what interesting writers think about when they're kind of left to their own devices and get to chart their own course.
mhm.
And I think to like make everything for like the way to thrive is just to be doing as much as possible that is like hitting as many keywords as possible. And
Yeah.
like that can't be what everyone's doing. It's always been what some people would do. And you go,
Mhm.
all right, that's fine. They're like playing a different game. But now it feels like there's the people at the top with the money. And this is not about stand-up booking, obviously. Like the
Right.
Hulu roster, I think this year is like some really many really spectacular comics, a lot of friends that are wonderful and whose work I'm so excited to see on this big platform. But it feels like the people with the most money and that run these giant conglomerates don't care that anything is good. And in fact, like good is in the way of the real goals, which are like fast and abundant and keywords.
Yeah, yeah. What I two things about that. What I appreciate about at least for Hulu is that they're not doing, 20 or 30 specials this
Yeah.
year. It seemed to be kind of cherry picked, and
Mm-hmm.
especially when we get to Atsuko's, it
Yeah.
was
Atsuko's so great. She's so funny.
yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, that was I had to day not often it's not often that I sit down day one and watch
Yeah.
something. That was a day one event for me where I sat down, I turned it on, and I
Yep.
just watched it all the way through.
And I loved her HBO special from a couple of years ago. Let's talk about not putting out, I think Hulu's been doing about one a month and HBO does like maybe one a quarter, one every 2 months
Hmm.
with specials. And her special, The Intruder, is like so wonderful.
Yeah.
They're just like, I don't know. It is, on one hand, there are so many comics doing amazing work, even really new young comics in a lot of instances. Like this isn't like, it's Bill Burr or it's nothing. I think there are so many wonderful emerging talents that are,
Mhm.
it's just like so thrilling. But on the other hand, it feels like the people making the decisions and in some cases like allocating the money that, and this is again not a stand-up booking thing, but like entertainment and media overall are
Right.
just like, no, we just want the thing that is already popular, or like the thing that hits this
Yeah.
button.
Yeah. Bouncing off that a little, I'll get to my second thing in a
Please
second, but
take your time.
Josh Johnson
Love
is
Josh Johnson. Yeah.
he's one of the few that can post something that's very pertinent to the time
Yeah.
and it works and it's like 20 minutes of
Yeah.
something and it still works and
It's
I
great.
want to drop that in. Yeah.
I think that's so good. Josh is one of those people that's like, he's been working forever, and or, not forever ever, but like he's been working for years and just
Mhm.
getting so good, and working at the Daily Show and touring and doing stand up around New York City. And then when he has been posting those like long form topical comedy sets, like, or slices of comedy sets,
Yeah.
and it's so cool. And like I hope that almost no one follows his lead, because I think he's like exceptionally talented and exceptionally capable of this kind of thing. But like, I hope we don't get a gold rush of people going like, I get it. People just want me to
Hmm.
talk for 30 minutes about the Diddy verdict. And it's like, not you. We want Josh to do that.
Yes. Yeah. It's when I saw the headline, what was it, like 2 Fridays ago, that
Yeah.
said he was going to be joining the co-hosting
I
spots
love
for the
it.
Daily Show. I was like, of fucking course, look at him.
Yeah. And it's like there's so many people from that world that they just get like so battle tested, like Roy Wood Jr., who is such
Mhm.
a like a an incredible comic before he even got there, and Ronnie Chang, and and so many people have come from that world. And I think it's like really wonderful when there's a structure in place that like nurtures and develops talent and then like allows them to kind of achieve that escape velocity and go off and do their own thing. And I
Mhm.
think that's like a really special system, and it just doesn't seem like there's as much like nurturing and care and development
Yeah,
in a lot of these situations. You know, it's like when someone is, it's just someone's TikTok account and against the world. There's not like a system that's like teaching them, the showing them the ropes in a way that like it is helpful to know certain things, I
yeah,
think. And it's helpful to like and even again, more than gatekeeping, it's nice to be a part of a creative community, and it's kind of a bummer when that stuff gets like atomized into individual people that are like stars on their own right, but there's no constellation.
yeah, yeah. That's really wow. That was really verbose, and I do that. I like that was that. I just like I if you were a teacher, I would and I like and I was a student that was looking for a mentor. I'd be like, that was
Like
oh, let me
constellation,
think
like
about
that's
Mr.
good. That's
Gondelman.
good. I'm kind of a writer.
We're going back to the newsletter thing
Yeah.
that you just seemed to drop. I also subscribe to a lot of newsletters. And one thing that I started doing, I don't know, years and years ago, is whenever an article comes up on a web on the New York Times or Politico or wherever I read things, um, I like to look at who the author of the article is. I like
Yeah.
to get to know their voice. That really helps in reading game reviews or
Yep.
reading the piece of like this morning there was a Liam Neeson piece that was posted on New York Times, and
Mm.
so like I like to read that stuff, and that's really helped me get to know who's a good writer,
Yeah.
who I kind of have my a voice that is molded after, and I think yeah, you're right. It's just you have to find the people that you kind of agree or not even agree with, and
Yeah.
just see how they work and how things could because that's just how it art should be taken in.
I love like when I read criticism from someone whose taste is not similar to mine. I think like if they're a good writer and a thoughtful writer and thinker about it, it is also helpful to read, right? Like because you go, oh, I know how to calibrate my own anticipation or expectation for this piece of art
Mhm.
based on this person, even though they came to a different conclusion than I think I will. And I think that's like like having taste is so special and important. And when taste is just abdicated to like who has a big number of views or followers, it is like you know, you're kind of um you're leaving out a big piece of it, which is like, is this good or is it just popular? And some things, obviously, like Josh's comedy, very good, very popular.
Mhm.
There are lots of people that fit in that mold, but it's like when you're letting the algorithms do your decision making for you as like a consumer, but certainly as an executive, it's like you're leaving lots of great art out there unexplored because it's not the thing that you're being force fed.
Yeah, that's the precise reason why I think every single one of my streaming music and TV shows, excuse me, movies and TV show streamers, they're all like all of my cues are so giant is because I see something and I want to watch it, and be it a movie from 10 years ago or 10
Yeah.
days ago, an album that came out last week. I want to get to know everything and see and parse what's good for me because I can't just trust that the algorithm is going to feed me something that I like. And if I let that happen, I'm sure there's people out there that have no list. They just go straight to, the front page of HBO
Yeah.
Max and say,
What's there?
yeah,
Yeah.
like what's there? Or they'll listen to the same thing over and over again on
Mm-hmm.
Apple Music. That just doesn't work. And for me at least, and I can't see one thing that relates to another thing or listen to the same thing over and over again. I want to go out there and like actually try and see what's new and see if I can become a fan of Wet Leg
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Totally. And I think like that kind of, rather than just like, I go sometimes on Apple Music and just go, what's new? And
Yeah.
I want to see like what's there. But I love, I'm trying to think of what came my way recently. There's like a band that let me see if it's in my thing, but like, um just like you know, I love a recommendation from a trusted source or like
Yeah.
a review from a trusted critic. I think that's really such a special thing. Oh, it's been a lot of old favorites in my queue lately. It's been
Okay.
Open Mike Eagle's new album and
Yes.
Clips and Laura Stevenson and what's the other one? That might have been the big three lately that I'm on. Oh yeah, Craig Finn's new album. And so like it is lots of great stuff. But it yeah, I think it is so helpful to have voices you trust and not just computer programs that push what's new, what's hot at you.
Yeah, I think that's why people make fun of me for this, but I have a Sirius XM subscription as well on top
Yeah.
of my music subscription. So when I get in the car, I don't want to like I plug my phone in for Android Auto, but I don't want to like mess with music or podcasts or anything. I want to listen to what's on Sirius XM,
Yeah.
everything from 90s on 9 to Yacht Rock to LL Cool J's station to even Diplo. I like all 40 of my presets are all different music stations
Whoa.
in Howard and sports as well. But I just want to see what's out there and see what I haven't heard. And and with that being the case, and when I went to college, I obviously I'm a young black man, and I lived in the suburbs when I was growing up,
Mhm.
and I was basically I think about this constantly. Everybody just assumes you're gonna love hip hop and R&B,
Sure.
which is great. I love hip hop and R&B. Obviously it's this thing I listen to the most. But then I got to college and I went to school in Tennessee, so I heard Taylor Swift. I started listening to country, and then
Yeah.
I start listening to rock, and now I'm my three of my biggest bands are U2 and Bruce Springsteen and Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
And that's like all I listen to now besides, The Weeknd and Taylor Swift. So
Totally.
it's amazing what can happen when you actually, put your mind to getting out there and finding something different.
And when yeah, different is like the key, right? When it's not just reinforcing the last thing you liked. Oh, if you like this is like, and that is really useful when
Mhm.
you go, man, I just heard Wet Leg. Like, who are the like as you mentioned, like who are the other bands in that milieu? Who are the
Yeah.
other bands doing stuff like that? And that's such a great service. But you also it also keeps you in that groove, and you're not going like, oh man, I didn't even realize that Tyler the Creator put out two new albums in the last year because
Yeah.
they're giving me just indie rock lately.
Yeah, and I'm so glad to be on top of things because when I saw Tyler put that album out, I was there like minute one and I listened to it at
Yeah.
the gym and it was fantastic. I like it more than the last one, and I love the
Ooh,
last.
I really like the last one. I haven't spent enough time with the new one yet.
Yeah, it's
I liked
it's
the last two too. I liked was it Chromacopia and Call Me If You Get Lost. I really
yeah.
loved.
Yeah, he's such a great artist that really transcends the genre of hip hop because I think he's making like a lot of people in that genre just look bad. Everybody's coming out like Lil Baby and Dirk and everybody else. They're coming out and just coming out with the same stuff over and over again. But he is like the rapper artist from the 90s, the Common that and the Nas that was
Sure.
different from, everybody else that was kind of sounding the same who fell off from those time periods.
Yeah, I love seeing an artist who is like willing to experiment from record to record. And I think like the sacrifice of that is you don't maybe love every record equally,
Yeah.
but the like upside is you just don't know. You're like it's always a thrill to see what the next project will sound like.
Yeah, it's like well, just likening this back to comedy.
Mm-hmm.
The John Mulaney's Everybody's Live,
Yeah.
that first iteration with Everybody's in LA and then turning it to Everybody's Live. I think that show could have found, Netflix just released their numbers and that show did not do well, but
Yeah.
that show could have found such a great niche, a little pocket of comedy
Yep.
culture if they did a better job at promoting it and what it was and like really just what that show has is like it doesn't have a YouTube channel or its own social platforms to thrive on in the same way that Conan and Colbert and Seth
Mm-hmm.
Meyers and everybody else does. And I just wish that they would have started a YouTube channel and cut up clips and just put out just different clips
Right.
all the
Funnel
time.
people back to the show itself, right? I think there it's so funny because I think people's creative work is like more than ever disembodied from itself. Where I was it Nathan Fillion was like, oh, someone said to him like, oh, you're the guy I see on all these like TikTok clips or YouTube shorts, and he's like, if you love the YouTube shorts, you would love the whole show. It's like, and it's so funny, like how that work. Sometimes the clips become advertisements for the show, and then sometimes they become like memes and have a life of their own where people don't even know where they're from, and it's like such an
Mhm.
interesting time for all that. And interesting not in like the backhanded like, oh, interesting, but like, oh, I wonder how we will reestablish cultural context, or even if that's necessary, if like there's just going to be like kaleidoscopic fragmentation all the time of like
Mhm.
what people want. But I do like you pine for like, oh, I wish when a top big name comedian had a late night show launch, there was like a big push getting people to want to like know about it and watch it. Like when I've been promoting this special, which is just on YouTube, and it'll be there hopefully forever, and
Right.
with no barrier for entry. There's no paywall or anything. But like, my theory was like, I just want to go everywhere to talk about it, because unless you're everywhere in this media landscape, you're kind of nowhere. Like, I
Yeah.
figured if people are like mad at how many podcasts I'm on, that means I was on like just enough podcasts.
Yeah, that I really, I appreciate all your appearances, and I've been, every time you pop up on Wait Wait Don't Tell Me, I always go, I spoke to that guy once. I spoke to that
Yeah,
guy once.
twice now.
Twice now. Yeah. That's how I got into Taskmaster. Before they announced that Series 19 where Jason was
Yeah,
on, it just came up in my algorithm, and I was
yep,
watching clips, and I didn't understand the show, but I knew who everyone involved was
yeah,
because Greg and Alex were on the Late Night with Seth Meyers like what months ago, and so I was like, "What is this?" And then I
yep.
started watching when the new episodes came out, and I fell in love with it, and now I'm on Series 7, working my way through every
Oh
iteration
yeah,
of that
it's so
show.
fun. I've been talking so much about Taskmaster lately because my wife Maris and I were like a little bit behind watching all of Series 19,
Mhm.
and I had watched more of it than she had, and this cast really clicked with her. I think
Yeah.
like part of it was knowing Jason and his like tone a little bit, and then part of it was just, I think, like the chemistry with the five contestants was so good this
Yes.
series. And it's like, it's such a joy. I mean, like, again, the individual clips wonderful, but such a joy to watch them over the course of 10 episodes really like love and understand and like poke fun at each other's comic personas and
Yeah.
like ups and downs as a competitor. It's just like a really special, like almost 10 hours, of 7.5 hours of television. And it's
Yeah.
great.
If that his this is like a dream coming true for him. It would be like if my favorite show is The Simpsons. I watch
Mhm.
it every single day. I've seen all almost 800 episodes,
Wow.
and I truly like if they put me on an arc, I would be
Yep.
so happy.
Yeah.
If they put me in the writer's room for one episode,
Yep.
oh, I would be talking to Christine Nangle and Brody Gupta
Oh
and
yeah.
Selman and just being like, let's do this, guys. Let's make the best episode of The
It's
Simpsons
yeah.
ever.
It's like really nice, and that kind of like working collaboratively and things getting to be institutions is really special, especially when the institutions are like malleable and grow and change and adapt and um modulate with the times. I think is like such a gift when you can see that, and then like welcoming in new voices. That's like, I don't know what's better than that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, Josh, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I know you've on your tour, you were going around promoting your wife's book. If you want to go ahead and do that, you can do
I
that right now.
do. Yeah, my wife Maris Kreisman has a new essay collection out. It's called "I Want to Burn This Place Down." She's such a great writer, such a great essayist, really smart and funny and like unflinching and compassionate. And it's just like, the way she has been describing it is like kind of a like friendly, welcoming face for people who are having kind of a broadening and expanding political awareness, and like who maybe in the 90s or early 2000s where like I vote for the Democratic candidates every 4 years when they're up for the presidency. And then I show up for the midterms to vote for Congress, but I don't think too much about it. I just vote D. And like people who feel that way, but are like, oh, I think we can hope for more out of it. Not like, not just, oh, party politics, but like what politics and government can do for people is so much more than we're letting ourselves imagine and aim for. And I think that's like a really beautiful ethos. And she writes a lot about having living with diabetes and stuff from her childhood and like the public she's worked in the publishing industry for forever, so it's just like really fun. It's not just all dry political stuff. It's like really beautiful, wonderful personal essays, and she's very kind to me in the book as well, which is nice.
That's a good way to promote some content. I really appreciate it. Well, Josh, thank you so much again. This has been fun. It's great catching up with you
Such a
and hearing
blast.
you're a very funny guy and good luck. Hopefully this, does exactly what you want. This
Thank
special
you.
is the positive reinforcement, right? The positive
Yeah, positive
reinforcement you need.
reinforcement. I
Yeah.
just hope people find it and enjoy it. And like I'm so pleased to have worked with such a wonderful team, so grateful for their efforts. And I just hope I did their work justice as well. I think like it is a very warm and friendly hour of comedy in a way that like I think a lot of people are kind of turned off by how um cruel comedy can be at times. And I wanted it to be really like warm and inviting, but also about something real and not just like, remember Beanie Babies? Those were weird for like an hour, there's enough of that kind of stuff in there,
Yeah.
but I do really want it to feel like human and real and something that like I've been saying you can watch it with your parents if you have cool parents. You can watch it with your kids if you have cool kids. It's just like I really want it to be a place that people can go to enjoy themselves for an hour. So thank you so much for having me on to chat.
Of course. Yeah. I'll see you next time. And of course, again, good luck with both the book for your wife and good luck with this.
Thank you.
All right. You have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.